There it is. Home. Not just for me and you, not just for your family, friends, and neighbors, but home for everyone. This is home for every human that exists today and ever did exist. It seems like it's just sitting there, floating in the vastness of space. But this little ball isn't just gently hovering there. It's a dynamic spheroid of mostly metal and rock.
Fighting on the earth, fighting in the sky.
Not that kind of metal and rock. It's covered in mostly water, but if you shrunk it down to the size of a magic 8 ball, the amount of water would be almost undetectable. So while you're sitting there watching this video, the whole damn thing is moving rapidly through space. And while it's moving, it's losing mass from gases that escape our atmosphere, while at the same time gaining mass as it plows through debris. Not only is it spinning on its axis, giving us night and day, it's also hurtling through space, locked in our sun's gravity. And every time we make it around the sun once, we call it a year. Let's take a minute to think about that. What the heck is a year? What does that really mean? I think we often forget that it is both much more than what we think it is, but also much less. It's much more than just what is displayed on a calendar, which is just a human-made way of tracking what a year is. It's also a lot less than thinking it's some ethereal concept that exists outside of time and space, and we just follow its divinity without understanding where it comes from. The tracking of the passage of time is an invention of the human mind, and we have all just agreed to it. I think we all know exactly where the concept of this packet of time we call a year comes from, but do we really give a fair amount of time in our lives to contemplate its importance or lack thereof? A year is when our planet revolves around our host star one complete revolution. It doesn't take 1 year to go around the sun. The truth is that when we go around the sun once, we call it a year. There's a subtle difference between these two statements, but it's an important one. The first one implies we humans decided what a year would be, but that just isn't the case. We actually observed that the Earth and the Sun correspond to a cycle, and we labeled that cycle year. Now, for the most part, this is a relatively accurate way to interpret that cycle. I'm not going to get into leap years and other imperfections within our clocks and calendars. Let's just say the calendar could use some improvement. But there is a crucial part of the revolution around the sun that we often overlook, or maybe we're even unaware of. We tend to think of the universe and our solar system as a static, eternally stable set of planets circling the sun. But it's much, much more dynamic than that. This idea that the solar system is a circular machine gives the impression that every time the Earth makes it around the sun once, it comes back to its original position. This could not be further from the truth. We have to remember that not only is the Earth's orbit around the sun imperfect, the sun itself is moving through space as it orbits the center of our galaxy, the Milky Way. Our entire solar system, trapped in orbit around the sun, moves as a spiral through space, being dragged along by the sun. So as the Earth does a complete cycle around the sun, we'll call it 1 year, it does not end up at the same place from where it started. You have to think of our orbit not as a circle, but as a corkscrew. or a spiral. So then you have to think of the sun also orbiting the galaxy as a corkscrew as well, because even our galaxy is in motion. Our moon also has its own mini corkscrew. It's corkscrews and spirals all the way down. There are no circular orbits. Did you ever play with spirograph as a kid? Think of the most complex spirograph you can imagine, and in 3D, and you might have a concept of how the whole universe works. Another way to think about it is to imagine driving your car down a long highway in a perfectly straight line. Well, for starters, the Earth isn't flat, so your line isn't straight. And the Earth is spinning. So now, if your line is a north to south line, it becomes a wacky corkscrew. The Earth is also orbiting around the Sun. The Sun is orbiting around the galaxy. And so if you were to view your driving in what you thought was a straight line from outside the galaxy looking in, it would be some wacky, messed up, complicated corkscrew. So hang in there. I'm going somewhere with this. So now, you should have a good idea of what such a human construct the idea of a year is. The universe doesn't care what you think a year is. It's just following laws of physics, which turns out to have a lot of twists. Let us now talk about anniversaries, like the broader definition of anniversary. Not just wedding or partnership anniversaries, but birthdays are a type of anniversary, and remembrance days are also types of anniversaries, etc. An anniversary is simply a date on which an event happened in the previous year or years. As I ponder the universe and what it means to me, the idea of anniversaries holds less and less meaning. I tend to think that anniversaries are all just constructions meant to comfort us and give us some kind of meaning to existence, and that we are controlled by cyclic forces that really have no inherent meaning. You might say I'm just cynical, and you might be right, but hear me out. Now, we've already established how somewhat arbitrary the idea of a year is, so let's do a thought experiment together. Suppose you were born inside a very large building, and for your entire life, you never saw the sky, so you couldn't track the movements of the celestial bodies. You also never had a clock or a calendar, and the time to sleep was just established by the lights going on and off at regular intervals. So, even if you were able to invent some kind of device that would track time, it would still be arbitrary, and there would be no changing seasons. You could really only count on the days by how often the lights were on. You would have no concept of the idea that there are 365.25 days in a year. So the word anniversary would not even exist for you. And even if you lived for, say, 75 years, you might count 27,000 days or so. You would never know what a year was. And any significant events would be just something that happened in the past. And there would be no reason to keep memorializing it every year, because you wouldn't even know what a year was. Maybe on day 5,478, your cat gave birth to a kitten. At what intervals would you celebrate that birth? When would you say, "Hey, it's my kitten's birthday today, let's have some cake"? I would argue that you would never do that. The birth of your kitten would just be a happy memory of an event that happened in the past, and you would just appreciate the love you share with that kitten every single day. So now, I think it can be argued that applying repeated significance to an event when you have no concept of what a year is would be the same as applying repeated significance to an arbitrary idea. Because what we are saying when we celebrate a yearly event is that this thing happened exactly 1 year ago at this place and at this time. But it didn't. It happened somewhere out there in space. And the way we track the movement of the sun is not even accurate. The Earth did not return to its original location 1 year later. And anniversaries have no predictive power. They are quite literally meaningless. Some people think that if something significant happened, then 1 year later it could happen again. But that's as arbitrary as any two similar events that are separated by time. It would be just as meaningful to say that this thing happened 39 days ago, it's bound to happen again today. Do you understand what I'm saying? Are you picking up what I'm throwing out? Can you dig it, man? And as for me, it's probably obvious to you that I'm just 19,629 days old. Anyway, Happy New Year, everyone, and all the best to you and your family. And if you enjoyed watching this video as much as I enjoyed making it, please hit the like button and subscribe so you can see more content like this. And again, Happy New Year. Man, that makes me feel good.
Hey there, my friends. If you enjoy my videos and you would like to see more, click subscribe and don't forget to click on the little bell to get your notifications. You can also follow me on Facebook and Instagram. Just look for The Atheist Experiment and you'll find me. See you next time and stay skeptical.